Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. In my previous video, I talked about how I discovered the great books of the Western world set published by Britannica. Today, I want to discuss another early influence on my love for classic literature, and that was this series, the Magnum Easy Eye Classics paperbacks. And these were published by Lancer Books, which was founded by Irwin Stein and Walter Zacharias. They published books from 1961 to 1973. And Lancer was primarily a publisher of sci-fi and fantasy novels, but they also published these reprints of public domain classic literature in large, easy on the eye type like this. You see that's significantly larger. I think something like 30% larger, they say, than a typical paperback. I probably first encountered these titles myself in the early 1970s. I was a kid, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old. And where I grew up, we had a discount department store called Two Guys just up the road from our house. And I remember browsing the racks of Magnum Easy Eye classics near the front of the store. And I had a small batch of them that I collected. The books were cheap, maybe like 99 cents, something like that. And the large type somehow made them feel less intimidating to me as a young reader. They featured interesting cover art, sometimes a little cheesy and definitely dated of their time, to be sure, but nonetheless sort of catchy. And the reason that I'm nostalgic for these Magnum Easy Eyes is easy to explain. These were some of the earliest full-length novels that I ever read. And the first one was this one, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain. And it depicted a vision of American childhood and rural small-town life that felt freer and more adventurous than the dull suburban neighborhood that I grew up in. It was only in my summertime stays at my grandparents' house in the Allegheny Mountains that I would get a taste of the sort of small town life depicted in Tom Sawyer's world. We would wander the town and the fields all day long without supervision. Nobody got harmed. So much fun. I think it was the first time that I realized how a novel could shape the way you see the real world. Because after reading this book, when I would go up to my grandparents in the summer, we'd stay maybe for 7 to 10 days, I sort of saw the place in a new way. Later in life, I lived for a few years in St. Louis, Missouri. And in that first year of our time there, my wife and I took a day trip up to Hannibal, Missouri, up the river, Mark Twain's hometown. Sure, it's definitely a tourist trap, kitschy, but it was still great fun. Walking the streets, spying the bluffs above the Mississippi, see the river, and it definitely gave you a new perspective or an enhanced perspective of the world that was depicted in his novels, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. The other early novel that I felt really proud to have finished, I think this might have been the second full book I ever read, or third, and that was Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. It's one of the first British novels. Robinson's shipwrecked on a desert island. He builds an enclave, a fort, and learns to survive on his own wits and personal industry, all by himself, until the shocking discovery of footprints in the sand. And he realizes he's not alone on the island. You know the story of Robinson Crusoe, probably. Aside from the fun adventure of this survival story, I think this book rubbed off on me in some unseen ways. Maybe I haven't noticed this till now. For instance, where does my own interest in DIY, do-it-yourself culture stem from? Well, this guy is sort of like the original DIYer. Soon I was reading other Magnum Easy Eye classics. Books like H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds was a favorite. I also read The First Men in the Moon, and this one, The Invisible Man, one of my favorite covers. Both of these are two of my favorite Easy Eye covers. I love the spaceship here. And then this one just kind of creeped me out as a kid. I found it was sort of scary. And I didn't actually get around to reading The Invisible Man until just a few years ago, and I really loved it. Anyway, other books I remember devouring were The Red Badge of Courage, The Prisoner of Zenda, The Hound of the Baskervilles. As an adult, I got around to reading, I think it was Persuasion by Jane Austen, and a few others. And then I started, as this is now as an adult, I started collecting Magnum Easy Eye classics at used bookstores and library sales. They would pop up pretty frequently, and then they were never expensive. And eventually I had stockpiled, I don't know, maybe a couple dozen of these titles. But a few years back, I started downsizing the book collection because there's only so much real estate on the shelves. And I sold off most of the books in a massive lot on eBay. But I did keep these few titles for nostalgia value. And I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for these Magnum Easy Eyes. Every time I spy one in the bookshop, I'm tempted to pick it up. What did I love about these books? Because there's really not a whole lot that's special about these. Well, the large type was actually truly easy on the eyes. I like that. The books were simple, they were unpretentious, and the stories were great. That's what it comes down to when we read books, isn't it? And I guess these titles conditioned me to be on the lookout for books that were labeled as classics. And when I would see that label on a book, I would think, there's a good chance that that's a good book worth reading. And if any of you remember this series of books, I hope you'll leave a comment below and share your memories of the Easy Eye classics and what you think of them. Also, in the show description, I've linked to a blog of Magnum Easy Eye cover art that I maintained for a few years. It also contains a catalog of titles. I don't think it's a complete list, but it's good enough to get you started. And with that, I will say thanks for watching. I hope you will smash the like and subscribe button to help grow this channel. And I hope to see you again real soon.